Good morning, everybody, and a happy Thursday morning to you. This is one of my really super long videos. There's a lot in here, from Lemonada being pushed back, to Harry heading back to court over his visa because now Trump is in office, to Harry trying to pull at the heartstrings of his father because he wants his IPP status back. There's a lot. And some royal family stuff as well. So let's just jump in and cover it all. Let's get started. Let's go. We're going to start with King Charles. Apparently, before he left for Poland, he stopped by Park Run, UK. He went with the Sandringham Park Runners to the cafe to offer his congratulations, including the Sandringham 5K Your Way group, because they marked their 1-year anniversary. Now, on January 28th, we're going to talk about Prince William because he went to a farm on the Duchy of Cornwall. It's called the Lower Blackmere Farm, and he went there to learn about the multi-generational hub that's been and their farming practices and diversification, because apparently this farm is trying to get to net zero. It's one of the 7 focus farms in the Duchy of Cornwall's portfolio. The campaign aims to share knowledge and information so that everybody can transition to greener farming methods. This farm is owned by Phil and Heather, I hope I'm saying this right, Gorringe, along with their son Monty. It's a 630-acre farm that was established in the 1980s as a specialized seed grower. They had a herd of cattle, and it's evolved over time to regenerative farming, to try to make the practice more sustainable. They've also diversified their business. They refashioned a former grain store into a community event space and launched a composting operation. So William went on a tour of their farm. He saw their new grain store. He saw some regenerative farming equipment at work, a large seed drill. He then went on a farm walk to check out their composting project, including seeing these huge pieces of machinery in action. We know what an advocate William and King Charles are for sustainable practices and helping the environment. I love that he went on this visit. I just found it very interesting. What I love about this is William probably didn't just listen and let it go in one ear and out the other. He probably absorbed all the information. And after that, he met with members of the Ridge to River Steering Group, and they discussed the ongoing environmental restoration projects that they have going. They have brought 16 local farms together to restore ecological health and create a landscape where a lot of family farm lands can flourish and contribute. I love it. Now, the wife of the farmer said, and I quote, "He really is just a nice guy. He really seems down to earth and miles taller than I imagined, and he loved the worms. That's really great." I think William's doing a great job. All right, let's move on now. Apparently, Princess Diana used to take dance lessons for almost 10 years, 1-hour lessons at a private dance studio with her Scottish dance teacher. A production firm called Two Rivers Media in the city and Canadian producer Sphere Media are making a 90-minute feature documentary based on this dance teacher's memoir, Dancing with Diana, which was published last year. And it's going to talk about the 9-year period from 1981 when she was Princess Diana's, private dance teacher. They're going to be showing never before seen pictures, personal gifts, notes from Diana, interviews with royal insiders and celebrities. I don't see how those people could contribute to this, but okay, I think it's fabulous that it's being done. Let's move on now. Moving on to Princess Catherine, we already talked about, she was at Holocaust Memorial Day, but what you guys may not have realized is she's so thoughtful in everything she does. The jewelry she was wearing, the necklace, it was from a Jewish-owned brand. Very thoughtful in everything she does. This woman, Susan, who set up her brand in 2008, told the Mail that it was a momentous occasion. I completely agree. Let's move on. Here we go. I told you guys already, Canada doesn't want Meghan. A lot of people don't want Meghan, but guess what? Meghan's going. It has been announced that she will be attending with Katy Perry, of course, the opening ceremony in Vancouver on February 8th. It's been reported that Harry was part of the new PR firm 3 Gates Strategies, and Meghan has now joined that firm as well. Remember, that's being run by the former head of communications, Ashley Hansen, and it's being reported that this agency is going to push for a renewed focus on joint appearances and initiatives. So basically, they split their, visits. It didn't help them, so now they're going to put them back together. I mean, it's in the article. They're saying solo engagements with them have fallen flat with the public. Meghan's had a barrage of insults from former aides in the United States, in the press, dictator in heels, somebody who terrifies staff. We know about the Vanity Fair article. So basically they figure, you know what? It didn't work separating them. Let's just put us back together. Now, here's the interesting thing, or one of the interesting things that I saw. The article also goes on to say that Harry and Meghan are planning a fundraiser for victims of the recent wildfires in Los Angeles as part of their commitment to humanitarianism. Well, I'm sure whatever they do will be through Archwell. Remember, Archwell is allowed to keep 95% of all donations. So to me, that's not humanitarianism. To me, that's them sucking up money. Let's move on now. Prince Harry is about to have his very first court hearing since Trump took over as president. We know that in September, a judge ruled his U.S. visa was going to stay private because remember, the Heritage Foundation tried to get the application released to prove whether or not he mentioned his past drug use. And a federal judge has ordered Harry and Heritage Group to appear in court on February 5th in Washington, D.C. Judge Carl Nichols has set the hearing for 2 p.m. This will be the very first court appearance since Trump is in office. And remember, he's getting special treatment from Biden. We all remember that, but that's long over. Remember, in 2023, in The Spare, Harry said cocaine, marijuana, psychedelic mushrooms, and this is the kind of behavior that he would have been required to put on his application form before he relocated to the United States in 2020. Remember that the attorneys went into court on behalf of Harry and said, well, just because he wrote it in The Spare doesn't mean that it's true. Remember, that was supposed to be a true, unflinching account. Now, the Heritage Foundation insists that Harry didn't mention this on his application form, and he feels like he, lied. And if you lie, if you provide false information on the form, you don't get to come in. But the government's attorneys argue that releasing Harry's documents violates his rights of privacy. Homeland Security dismissed the Heritage Group's claims, saying that the purported evidence of government wrongdoing amounted merely to bare suspicion of government misconduct. Of course, DHS and Harry's reps have no comment. Niall Gardner, who is the director of the Heritage Foundation Margaret Thatcher Center for Freedom, told the Post that he himself is urging the president to release Prince Harry's immigration records, and the president does have the authority to do that. It's important because this is an issue of the rule of law, transparency, and accountability. No one should be above the law. Donald Trump is bringing in a new era of strict border control enforcement, and Harry should be held to full account. And I don't see the problem with that. Now, remember last September, Judge Nichols declared that the public doesn't have a strong interest in disclosure of his records. I myself beg to differ. This is where it gets really interesting. Niall Gardner actually put up a tweet and a video of Sue Braverman, who is a British member of Parliament and the former UK Home Secretary, and she was calling for the release of Harry's US immigration records. She said there's a very strong case for President Trump to intervene and direct the release and disclosure of these documents. I love it. All right, let's move on. Let's move on now to Meghan Markle and Lemonada, because now it's been announced that her podcast series is being delayed again. Reminder, she signed this deal in February of 2024, so we're coming up on a year since she signed. It's just like with Spotify. She signed and then she hasn't delivered anything. So this was supposed to launch last year, and she had to say no because Lemonada was reportedly, quote, struggling to get off the starting blocks. So the only thing that Lemonada has done up until now is put out the original podcast that Spotify had, claiming they were going to put it out everywhere. Dude, if Spotify couldn't do that, neither could they. It is being reported she's going to have to work, quote, extra hard to make this podcast a success after her Spotify colleagues have now come out accusing her of being a bully. Maybe I'm wrong, but it just seems to me that since she got dropped by Sunshine Sachs, we just learned that her book deal with Penguin Random House went bye-bye. We know that her Spotify deal is gone. They called her an effing grifter. You would think that she would put as much energy into this Lemonada podcast as possible, but apparently no. I don't understand how she is blaming this, that this is being held back because of the wildfires. Once again, what has that got to do with her going down into her basement and sitting in the studio that Spotify allegedly built for her in her home and talking into a microphone? Very interesting. Now, at the same time, people are wondering what guests she's going to have on. Is it going to be Mariah Carey again? Serena Williams again? And let's also not forget that we found out later on that she didn't even do all of her interviews. Somebody else did them. And then they put her voice in afterwards. They dubbed her in. She's always done the bare minimum amount of work necessary. Even I could do better than her. Why doesn't somebody give me a $10 million deal? I'll roll a podcast out so fast it'll make your head spin. Even the Lemonada brand logo, look at that. It's the same picture. They just changed the color and slapped Lemonada in the corner. Now, she's claiming that there's a delay due to the wildfires. However, a blind item has come out. Remember to take these with a grain of salt. Apparently, it's got something to do with money. Supposedly, allegedly, she needs a sponsor. Now, this is where my inexperience comes in. Isn't Lemonada sponsoring her? Aren't they the ones paying her to do a podcast? All right, let's move on. Really quickly, I just want to touch on this. The person who actually wrote the Vanity Fair hit piece put out a video. I don't know if she was trying to lighten the mood. I don't know what she was trying to do. I didn't find it worth watching myself. Let's move on. This story next up just got me. This is the Hello magazine. He's fighting for his family. And the reason they're saying that is because Harry is suing the Home Office for his UK security because he wants to be ensured that he can safely bring his kids back to the UK. Okay, so here's my first thought process. Why would you want to bring them back to the UK? The family isn't talking to you. What are you taking them there for? You don't even think that Buckingham Palace is secure enough. This has nothing to do with security for your family. If it did, you wouldn't have gone to Nigeria. You wouldn't have gone to Colombia. You wouldn't be living in the United States where everybody has a gun. Let's be honest. I'm not sure what he's thinking. The kids have the title Prince and Princess, but they don't have the HRH, so the titles are worthless. They will never work for the royal family. The royal family will have nothing to do with them any more than they wanted anything to do with Harry. What Harry is doing is using his children as leverage. He has already tried to blackmail King Charles once before when he got evicted from Frogmore. Don't you want to see your grandchildren anymore? Remember? But you can't blackmail your father over seeing children that he's not allowed to see anyway. Remember, in the past, he has also tried to get his father to intervene on his behalf. His father has not done so. His friends have put out statements. King Charles could intervene if he wants to. It's not going to happen. So what this really is all about is Harry wants his IPP status back because he doesn't want to have to pay for security anymore. It's costing him too much money. That is really what this entire thing is all about. Keep in mind as well that this came out on Holocaust Memorial Day. Harry and Meghan made no statements about Holocaust Memorial Day. Instead, Harry is doing self-promotion for Hello magazine to try to get sympathy from the public in his struggle for security. Truth be known, if Harry wanted his children in the royal life, which he ran from, remember they fled. It's like being inside the Truman Show. Isn't that what he said? If he wanted his children to have a future in the UK and with the royal family, he has definitely gone about it completely the wrong way. Now, at the same time, there's one more thing I just have to put out. Remember, we talked about misinformation and disinformation on the internet and how things shouldn't be altered. We don't like that sort of thing. Did you guys happen to notice the top of Harry's head at the Hello magazine? They've put hair on him again, because here's the pictures taken when he was visiting the firefighters, keeping them from their job for a photo op. And as you can see, his hair is not that red and he is absolutely bald. But of course, he's putting out fake stuff to make himself look better. Moving on, we know that Harry just stood on his back porch and talked about needing nominations for the Well Child Awards, and everybody's like, oh, it was a surprise appearance. How is it a surprise appearance? He does this every year. But let me give you my thought process on this. Number one, you never hear about Well Child Awards during the year or anything except when they need nominations or Harry shows up for his photo ops. Number two, this is a man who abandoned his royal duties serving others, and he's issuing statements from his front porch about the importance of serving others. And number three, I don't understand why Well Child keeps a man who's an admitted drug addict and alcohol abuser on as patron. Moving on. Finally, here we go. Meghan's friend, Lindsay Jill Roth, just released a book detailing the hard-hitting questions every couple should ask each other. And if you remember, the only thing Meghan asked about Harry is he nice? So now she's come up with the 20 questions that Meghan should have asked Harry before she married him. When you are hearing these questions, imagine Harry asking Meghan these questions, because he might have run. Okay, here we go. How does your family resolve conflicts? Do you approve or disapprove of that method? What would you change or not change to resolve conflicts in the future in your family? When you're upset or annoyed at someone, do you prefer to 1, remain silent, 2, say something as soon as those feelings arise, 3, wait a certain amount of time before raising the issue, or 4, do something else? If an issue arose between someone in your family and me, how would you rather handle it? With that person on our behalf, or I handle it with them directly? How do you feel about my siblings? How much time would you want to spend with them? What if one of your family members disliked me? How would you handle that? How would you like to handle holiday family visits, divvying up the holidays, sharing holidays with extended family? Would you prefer to spend the holidays alone? What was the way in which your nuclear family was perceived by outsiders, friends, neighbors, coworkers, extended family? An accurate presumption? Did your family present itself one way in public but function a different way in private? How often do you speak to your family? How often do they visit? How often would your family like to visit us? Would you ever live abroad if the opportunity presented itself? What are your thoughts about mental health treatment for either one of us? How involved should grandparents be in our parenting? How often should they see the kids? What if they want to see them all the time? How important is your career in terms of your identity? Do you have any passion projects that you're working on or want to create? And how would that work around your job and our relationship? How can we best support each other in our respective jobs or businesses? What would you eliminate from your life if you suddenly had to live on a tighter budget? Do your parents pay any of your bills currently? And if so, will they continue to do so in the future? Would you accept financial help from your parents or elders if they offered it? What would happen if one or both of us lost our jobs? If we had to make an escape plan, if we had to abandon our homes and head somewhere safe, where would that be? So now I want you to really stop and think, if Harry had asked those questions to Meghan before they were married, could you imagine some of the answers that came out of her mouth? How do you pay your bills? How often would you want your parents to come over and visit? Would you accept help from your parents, etc.? Could you just imagine the answers that would have come to Harry had he asked her these questions before they were married? They probably wouldn't have gotten married if that had happened. Oh my God, I want your comments for this. I don't even know what to say. Hit the like and the subscribe button and the bell. Don't forget to go down into the description box. You'll find the link to my Twitter, my Gettr, my Rumble, my email, my physical address, as well as my Amazon wish list. For those of you who've donated to my coffee fund, thank you so much. And as always, you guys, have a great day.